We're live. Hello, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Uber Frank.
Look who's here, right down here.
Good morning.
Masha is there. Oh, yeah, I should, I've got to adopt the correct position. There we go, that's better.
Oh, and your video just got really dark. That's weird.
There's a lot of sunlight coming in through a gap in the curtains.
No, I mean, just when you switched your position, it changed.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of odd.
I think it's just that the sun's gone behind a cloud.
Oh, okay. Just happened to be coincident with you moving the video. Okay. Hey, look at my nice.
Oh, very good.
Ooh, very nice.
I don't know if I have any of those left. If I do, Rick, I'll send one to you. But I think this might be the last one. Had these made a couple years ago.
Those are a classic.
Yes, they are. Anywho, hello everybody in the chat room. Uber Frank, Tim Needham, John Jester from Acme Giant. Oh, he's in Anchorage.
Not gonna miss that place.
Greg Peterson, the big ass fan guy. Rick, did you hear the story about Greg Peterson and the big ass fan company?
I know the big ass fan company. I haven't heard the story.
Well, when Nick came over last July, a week before Oshkosh, he came here into Atlanta. We did a show here, and then Monday morning we got in the car and drove up to Dayton, the U.S. Air Force Museum. He said, "Hey, I see you guys are going to be passing right by where I live and work, which is Lexington, Kentucky." And he works at the Big Ass Fan Company. And he said, "Why don't you, if you have a chance, if you have the time, come by and I'll give you a tour of the place." So Nick and I got a really custom nice tour. They even had, like, when we walked into the reception area, they had the big screen with, welcome APG show and all that. Yeah, look, there you go. There's his big ass donkey. Small ass.
I've got a great picture of Jeff sitting on one of the real big ass donkeys.
We got a bunch of swag. We got t-shirts and pint glasses and little stuffed animals.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was fun.
I'll tell you, now that I'm going to be spending a lot of time in Cincinnati, I'm looking forward to going to Dayton. I've never been up there actually to the museum.
So I'd never been either, and so when Nick and I went last July, that was my first time. We met up with Major Bell. Used to be Captain Bell, Rick, and he happened to be at Wright Pat for his simulator training right around that same time frame. So he said, "Why don't you come by over here?" Or we met up with him somewhere, maybe over at his hotel. I don't know. Do you remember, Nick, where we met up with him? Maybe at his hotel or something. Anyway, we went over to the base and
we
drove over there. Yeah. And then we both got about 20 minutes or so behind the controls of the C-17. Yeah. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, wow.
It's a weird.
I tried to air-to-air refuel this aircraft, and it's impossible. It can't be done. If you ever see a C-17 doing real air-to-air refueling,
CGI.
It's CGI.
Yeah, okay. It is absolutely fake news. It's impossible.
Can't happen. It's the weirdest thing, It's the back to the old setting the pitch and then using your power for your descent.
Yeah, and, I was having a hard job getting into the technique.
Yeah, I kept wanting to lower the nose because, you get a little high and you want to lower the nose. Nope, just keep it right there.
AOA.
Yep. Yeah, it was interesting. A lot of fun. Anyway, we spent the whole day at the museum after we did our little sim session in the morning. Met up with a bunch of people, maybe some of the people in the chat room, perhaps. And, I don't know how many hours we spent there that day, Nick, but, we kind of just hardly got to really see anything because you had to go fast to see all the different how many hangars, like 5-6 hangars?
A bunch of them. And of course there were some exhibits that I really wanted to see, so I was just like a man on speed. I was diving around going one place, and of course you inevitably miss some. One of which was the subject of the plane tail, the
Sky Raider.
Yeah, the Sky Raider that the guy won his Medal of Honor in by picking up his fellow pilot. I was so sad I missed that, but luckily Ray Davis has got a picture of it and has sent me one, so we can have a listener picture on the website.
Very nice. Greg says that if when I make it back to CVG, he'll give me a tour of the big ass fan company.
Yay!
I would love that.
Oh, they're a great bunch of guys. We got a challenge coin as well, which was rather nice.
That's right. Okay. Steph is asking for a code for some reason. She must not be at home. Okay, let's see. Go back over here.
This is really annoying. The sun keeps going up and down in intensity. I'm going to try and pull these curtains a bit more.
So what we'll do is we'll do a I'll do a like, oh hey, look who's here, and then I'll hit the, and then we'll do your little opening spiel, and then you can kind of catch us up quickly with what you've been doing, Rick.
Yeah.
And then we'll dive right into the aforementioned feedbacks.
Sounds good. I think they're probably gonna want to hear about the loft a little bit.
Yes, the place where you go up the ladder and then you have like a bed and. No, that's
exactly. That's where I keep my stash.
I want to hear about that. Yes, the line-oriented flight training.
Line-oriented flight training. That was interesting. It was an interesting one.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a big dog face smashed against the chair in the background of Nick's studio. It's hard to see, but it's one of his.
Hey, for once, I'm not the darkest one anymore. Well, never mind.
for a few moments,
for a few seconds there.
Yeah. I will. Let's see. That's not going to work. I was going to tell you the little program or plugin that we use on the Mac to adjust the picture quality. Kind of a.
Yeah.
But it won't work on the Windows machine. So
yeah, I need to get a new computer.
Oh, and then also remind me. I'll send you a link to Total Recorder. It's software that you can use on your Windows machine. It kind of basically does the same thing that we're doing with Audio Hijack. Recording while we're doing the show, just in case we need your audio, local audio.
Roger that.
I don't think we'll need it today on today's show, but okay. So let's see. Did Steph get the code, Liz? She said anything? Still don't see her. Huh. Looked like Dana's on the lake, everybody, and he was going to say hi, but apparently he doesn't have reception there, cell reception. So, but he did send us a picture of the dock and the lake, and it looks really nice. We need to get Rick over here sometime before Dana sells the pontoon boat, so we can go out on the lake.
I would love that.
We had a retreat a couple of years ago. Was it 2 years ago, Nick? September of 2018, I think.
Yeah, a year and a half, 2 years ago. Yeah.
And had a wonderful day on the lake. Mostly just floating in the very warm bath water and drinking beer and other alcoholic beverages and eating really good food.
Oh, man. That's my kind of weekend.
It was. Dana cooks a mean barbecue.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, we had a good time. I can't wait for us to start doing meetups again after this COVID thing.
After this craziness ends. Apparently, Texas is going to open next week, finally.
All right.
Yeah.
There she is.
So what is going on here?
That's not Steph in her usual place.
Hey, Steffi.
I know. I totally mess up the time.
I love what you've done to the office. It looks great. It looks a lot like a car.
It looks a lot like my car, doesn't it? So, yeah, that was a trick to try and figure out how to actually join you guys from here. So, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, not great, but so you thought you were going to be home for this or not?
Yeah, well, it helps if you read the times correctly. For some reason, I just had in my mind that you were going to try for the same time today as you did yesterday. So I didn't even look to see what time zone you put after the time. I just assumed it was the same time for Rick.
Okay.
So that's my bad.
So what you doing?
I was just out flying, actually.
Oh, very cool.
So.
All right.
What
Well,
is
you
this
have a good
flying
excuse.
thing?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been almost a week for me since I've flown.
Mm-hmm.
But,
What were you up in, Steph?
172.
Cool.
Just did a couple touch and goes.
Now you weren't flying.
To go out for,
You weren't in a Cirrus a couple of weeks ago at Stanford. Is it Stanford over there near Orlando?
Sanford. Oh,
Sanford.
Sanford.
That's
No.
you?
This was not me.
Okay.
I promise. Definitely not me.
What happened?
We have some feedback.
I've seen this. This is good.
I don't know if we're going to be able to get to it today. So just in case we can't, I'll go ahead and play the video here. Look at Rick. Okay, this is an A321, I think. And then, oh, look, there's a little Cirrus.
Yeah, I saw that.
Just
Yeah.
going by. Yeah. It didn't look like it quite went right underneath, but it was awfully close.
That's pretty close.
Yeah. It's not in the same taxiway.
Yeah, it was. I guess it was
Hey.
actually the ramp. I'm not sure it was a taxiway or
When
not.
you gotta go, you gotta go. I mean, there's
That's right. Apparently, they let him go, according to what I can determine. The instructor pilot, who got a little bit impatient.
Just a little bit.
Well,
Really?
how much an hour does one of those cost?
A lot
to rent. Yeah. Whoa, can't afford to sit behind this bloke.
That's true.
Costs a whole lot more if you run it into another aircraft, though, or injure someone in the process.
Okay. Well, so are you going to be able to stay with us for about an hour, Steph?
Yeah, I've really actually got nothing else to do, so I just grabbed some Chick-fil-A and
okay.
Yeah, it's all good.
All right.
As long as you don't mind looking at my.
That's Steph for you right there.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go ahead and pretend like we're still recording the show from 2 days ago. And I'm going to go over here and get my little script for Rick intro. And you know what? I didn't do the other day. I just noticed it in the intro folder, and you probably don't see it, Steph, because it's not something that you normally look at. But this was something that from Slack from a guy named Mark K. And he talked a little bit about COVID testing and stuff. Maybe we can maybe do that on another show. Just skip that one for today. We'll see. From what did we say? From the
Valley of the Sun.
Valley of the Sun. Okay. And recorders, if you have them. I guess it doesn't really matter, but just
Mine's
in case. Okay. And let me make sure that the main one is going here. It is. Okay, guys, say something.
Hello.
Say something.
Hello.
Something.
Say something.
Something.
Okay. Good. Perfect. You guys are so good.
Professionals.
Very yes. Oh, hey, look who's here on the screen all of a sudden. Let's see. It's kind of loud, isn't it? From the Valley of the Sun, world traveler, airplane mechanic, Breitling cognoscenti, fitness hound, and international air freight captain, it's Miami Rick.
Hey, everybody. Listen to that. Listen to that track.
Big old jet airliner, man.
Oh, yeah.
All right, that's your music for now until we can think of something else.
Let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens. You never know. And so, hey, it's actually through the magic of podcasting. The last, I don't know, about a minute ago, if you're listening to the podcast right now, we were on Thursday, I think. Was it Thursday? Yeah. I'm confused now. Was it Thursday or
what
Friday
day is
that
today?
we recorded last?
Thursday.
I don't know. I think it's Saturday. Thursday. It was Thursday. And then we were going to go ahead and do Friday, and had some issues with my internet, new internet fiber installation. And,
how's it working?
Well, I don't have it actually. So I'm still using the old stuff.
All that for
So
nothing yet.
yeah. So sorry, Rick, I'm kind of messing up what you've been doing, but let me just quickly tell you. So what happened was the AT&T guy comes over and says, his name's Oz, really nice guy, and he kind of looks and sees where everything's going to go and what where he's going to put the hole in the wall and everything else. And then he goes, okay, I'm going to go up to the street and see if you're getting good light. And so I guess from the fiber. And then about a half an hour goes by and I don't hear anything or see anything going on. An hour goes by, I don't see anything, hear anything going on. I walked outside, his van or truck or whatever is gone. Where the heck did he go? And finally, about 2 or 3 hours later, he comes back and he goes, yeah, I'm not going to be able to do the install today. We ran into a little issue. And I said, well, what's going on? He said, well, I guess like a year or two ago when they first introduced the fiber to our neighborhood, one of my neighbors, and I know the guy, he's a great guy, Ken, he had it installed in his house, but there was some kind of an issue with the port that they were supposed to use for his connection. So they went ahead and used my port, my connection, because it was available. I wasn't using it. And they thought, we'll come back and fix that later. Well, that was a while back and nobody ever came to fix the thing. So he said, yeah, I went up to your neighbor and asked, he said, I'm going to have to shut down your internet for a little while. And so I can connect, Jeff. And he goes, oh, I can't, no, I need this internet connection for him. He's working from home. So I said, no problem. I still have the cable internet already. So no big deal. So he's going to try to sort this all out, I think tomorrow, and then maybe come back Monday or Tuesday for another try at the installation. So
wow.
That's what happened. So turns out I could have done the show yesterday, but here we are today, Saturday morning, and Rick has joined us. And so what's been happening there, Rick?
Well, I finished up training last what was it? Monday was my last day of training there, and got on a jet airliner, made it all the way back out to the Southwest, and here I am catching up on 2 months of work around the house. So lots of fun. But it's interesting. I mean, it was interesting getting on that plane, getting over here, going through the airport. Everything was kind of, running
surreal,
at about 10%. Just pilots, the airline crew, and then crew just walking around civilian clothes, everybody with their IDs and the masks, and it's just weird. Just can't wait for this whole thing to be over.
Yeah. Me too. So how did the training go? The end of the training, you did some kind of a line-oriented flying training event or something?
Yeah. So what we did, so after the check ride, which was 2 weeks ago today, actually, there were a couple of things that we had to do to actually finish up the training altogether. A couple of days of classroom. And then we did a simulator on the we did a ride a couple hours on the large display system. There's this modification on the 7576 cockpit where they install these big screens and they take out the old CRT screen. So you kind of
LDS, right?
The LDS, exactly. The LDS system. That was really cool. So we got to do that and do our upset recovery training in that. So they put you on in all sorts of weird, attitudes and pitch and roll, and you have to kind of, fly your way out of it. There's a little bit of classroom before that as well. And the whole idea is trying to, just keep the maneuver as close to 1G as possible so that's not to overstress the airplane. And there's a way of doing that as well. So that was kind of interesting. And then after that on Tuesday, that was the last day, we did what's called a loft. It's a line-oriented flight training, which is it's a 2-part session. So my training partner flew the first part, which was a short flight between Kennedy and Boston, and this is in real time, right? You get on the jet, you go through all the paperwork, you load the box, and you deal with the flight instructor is your dispatcher, your mechanic, your purser, and you kind of have to play the game and involve everyone in the operation as if it was a real flight. So we did New York to Boston, And then we switched, and then the second leg was Boston to Frankfurt. Obviously, we didn't do the whole flight, and the whole purpose of the second leg was to apply what we learned or reviewed a couple of days before that in the classroom, which was directly related to an engine event during a Atlantic crossing. Because now going back to flying a light twin, there's certain considerations. Well, it is. There are certain considerations with what happens and what to do if you lose an engine, especially when flying across the North Atlantic. You can't. There are very, very defined highways, if you will, that you fly the North Atlantic across. So basically, if something happens, you can't just descend or you can't just turn any which way. There's procedures to follow. 30 degrees off of your track, descend down to 28,000 feet below the North Atlantic track system before you begin your turn. And in the meantime, dealing with the emergency, trying to get a hold of ATC, applying all the procedures, and then at the end, divert to your near suitable airport as per the checklist, and then you have to fly a single engine ILS, which at that point, and we've done so many of those damn things that at this point I can do them with my eyes closed. So that the single engine stuff was really not an issue at all. But it's interesting because you actually get to do it, and knock on wood, that's the only time it happens. So that was interesting, and then you get your final sign off then, and then you're done. You trade in your flight simulator folder for a flight training folder, which I got in here. And then now, in the next 2 weeks or so, I'll be hitting the road again and starting an operating experience. So hopefully, here's the thing though, I have to have 100 hours of flight before 120 days. It's called consolidation. And this is
when does the 120 days start?
From the date of your check ride. So for me, it's July the 6th. Now that's extendable to 150 days if I see that I'm not going to make it. So the problem with that is that if I don't get those 100 hours and 120 extendable to 150, I have to go back to the simulator and do another proficiency check, kind of like a yearly check ride. And then the clock resets. No. So the idea here is to try to, get out on the road and do as many legs as I can. Now the thing here is hopefully I'll do some international flying, because if I just get stuck with doing DHL or Amazon turns, it's not gonna be too.
It's gonna take a long time to get that 100 hours.
Exactly. So let's see. Let's keep them crossed so that I can get that done. So that's basically what I've been up to now. Just back home now, as I said, working at home, catching up on 2 months worth of stuff, and
just sitting back in your lazy boy and watching the TV, right? Watching streaming video on YouTube and Hulu and Netflix. Right?
I gotta catch up on my stories.
No, actually, he's been out there working hard. Is the how's the weather? Is it like stinking hot already, or is it?
No, it's beautiful. Actually, it's great. It's great. It's sunny. Today is a little cloudy though. It looks like it's going to rain, and the nights are still. I mean, they're still a little nippy at night. It gets to the mid 50s. And a little windy, but it's good. It's I tell you, 2 months from now, we're going to be hoping we have this weather, because it's
120 degrees or something ridiculous, right?
Exactly right.
It's a dry heat, though. You'll be fine.
It's a dry heat, exactly.
We used to do these all-nighters, red eyes from Phoenix to Atlanta, and I was out there. I think it was like 116, and I'm thinking, okay, let's meet downstairs and we'll walk over to this restaurant just a couple blocks away. And I'm like walking through the middle of the street and thinking, this is not bad. What are these people complaining about? And about 20 steps later, I'm going, I think I'm going to collapse. So
and forget touching like car handles, steering wheels, your seatbelts. You need like
we found some shade, and when I got in the shade, it was like 20 degrees difference. It was amazingly better in the shade. Yeah, wow.
Cars with leather seats, not good here.
Yeah, so I thought, okay, now I get it. Yeah, they're not kidding when they say that it's pretty impressively hot. All right. Well, good. I'm glad that you're here with us for part 2 of episode 420. And we're going to try to keep it the entire show within the 3 hours, or maybe a little bit more than 3 hours. I hope you'll, let us off the hook, dear listeners, for that. but we're going to try to knock out some more feedback. And I thought we'd start with number 8 in the feedback folder. So let me see. I need to pull that up myself. And here we go. Well, this is timely. This is from Brian. He said, "Hey, Jeff and crew, I haven't seen any feedback for a couple years. No, I haven't sent. I'm sorry. What does he mean he hasn't seen any? We do it every show. I haven't sent any feedback for a couple of years, but had to say how delighted I am to have Rick back on the show.
Yay!
Thank you.
And when I started listening to the show, I had a significant commute to work, and the AC in my car didn't work. There were times in the summer that the road noise was really loud, but I had to hear what Rick was explaining. So I would roll up my windows and just sweat like crazy so I could learn all about Fowler flaps and whatnot. Anyway, I think we're on the same brainwave. I have a few suggestions for an intro song for Rick. Sorry if this is a copyright nightmare. Maybe Jeff can just sing them. Ugh, you don't want that. And then he lists a couple of items here. AC/DC's Back in Black, Motorhead's Bomber, the Rolling Stones' Who's Driving Your Plane, and from the Disney Planes soundtrack, Mark Holman, Nothing Can Stop Me Now. And then, of course, the number one thing he listed here was the Steve Miller Band, Jet Airliner. And so that you just heard that just a couple of minutes ago. Not the actual copyrighted version from Steve Miller Band, but a karaoke version. So hopefully we'll be able to get away with that. If not, they'll take me away. They'll handcuff me and take me to jail. Anyway, yeah,
Terrible.
I know. Good to have you back, Rick. You're a big part of what keeps me going toward my career goals. And this is Brian in SLC, Salt Lake City.
That's great.
So,
thank you very much, Brian. I appreciate that. I really, really do.
Anybody out there, if you want to help us find a good thing for a good theme song for Rick that is copyright, what do you call that? Copyright free, not non-offensive copyright. I'll put a link in the show notes to YouTube has a really good audio library full of, thousands of selections for music. And that's where I found the music for Dana's theme song. And so if you find something in there that you think might work with Rick, just let us know. Or if you have other access to other royalty-free, copyright-free kind of stuff, let us know. All right, jumping over to 9. From Ralph, he says, 7 unusual ways aircraft now fly cargo during the coronavirus outbreak. Blah, blah, blah. I guess this is an article from, it's a link to Apple News. I'm not sure exactly where this article is from, though. Apple News is kind of a consolidator of news. So this article, again, 7 unusual ways aircraft now fly cargo during the coronavirus outbreak. Test aircraft. Airbus sent an A330-800 test aircraft from Toulouse to Tianjin. Is that how you pronounce that?
Tianjin.
In order to pick up approximately 2 million face masks and bring them back to France. Airbus said the majority would be donated to governments. Monitoring equipment is in the cabin, and boxes of masks were loaded around the workstations. And they have a picture of the inside of this A330 Neo from Tianjin to Toulouse. The aircraft MSN 1888 was used in the flight test campaign that concluded in February with the EASA and the FAA issuing a joint type certification. This airplane first flew November 2018 and accumulated 370 test flight hours across 132 flights. It's the second member of the A330 Neo family after the 330-900, which is already in service. So nice picture of the inside of the 330 Neo with a bunch of stuff, bunch of boxes. Number 2, military demonstrator. After the 330-800 returned from Toulouse, some of the masks it carried were loaded onto an A400M for onward transport to, I don't know, what's this word? Getafe?
Getafe. It's Getafe. It's an Airbus right outside of Madrid. It's where Airbus runs their operation there in Spain. And it's really cool because as you're approaching the Madrid airport, you actually fly right past it.
So what about Torrejon? Is that still there near outside of Madrid?
Torrejon as well. Yeah, I think that's their fighter base. That's they have a bunch of 18s there as well.
Used to fly in there all the time when I was in the Air Force flying the 141. Yeah. Okay, so they're going to put those masks into the Spanish health system via that base. Dream Lifter. I never heard of that.
No, me neither.
Go ahead and skip that one.
Yeah, but the picture there, I think that's the broken one.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah,
that was a hard landing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
a hard crosswind landing.
Quite the side load.
Boeing is offering its Dreamlifter for relief missions, but the aircraft have not yet performed any such flights. Ordinarily, the Dreamlifter transports parts for the aircraft. It is named after the 787 Dreamliner. The 4 Dreamlifters are heavily modified 747s, enlarged to carry the 787 wings and fuselage sections that typical freight aircraft cannot carry. Dreamlifter has 3 times the volume of a normal 747 freighter. Much of the gain is from a taller cargo compartment. It's unclear how extensively cargo could be stacked on pallets to utilize this height. What do you think about that, Rick?
Yeah, so 65,000 cubic feet of cargo capacity. It's amazing. It's insane, and the as far as weight is very, very close to what a normal 400 carries. But the thing with the Dreamlifter is that it can only be operated in and out of airports that have the equipment to support that type of operation. Because as you look at that picture there, and if you look at any stock picture of the Dreamlifter being loaded or unloaded, you'll see that the tail hinges to one side, right? And that's the only way that you can get stuff into that main cargo compartment there. And the tail opening, the swing tail system here, does not work without a dedicated and specialized truck that actually drives the tail open. And that piece of equipment is only located at places where the Dreamlifter operates in and out of. So obviously Seattle, up in Painfield, and Wichita, Kansas, over down in Charleston, in Nagoya in Japan, and in Taranto in southern Italy. So you can't really take this thing just anywhere you want to. And then another thing about the Dreamlifter is that the fact that the tail opens that way means that the airplane is not equipped with an auxiliary power unit, which usually on the 747, not usually, it always sits at the very end of the tail there, at the tail cone. And the reason why there's no APU is because, 1, weight, and then 2, the types of modifications that you'd have to accomplish to get the cabling and the pneumatics and the fuel from the main part of the jet to the APU compartment there would be very, very complicated. And so the airplane has to be the support equipment that the airplane needs to operate. It's quite, it's complicated. So I don't know if it would be it viable from the point of view of the amount of volume of cargo that thing can carry around. But then it obviously, as I said, it can't really go to very many places. So maybe as a consolidation, you'd go to certain airports to consolidate cargo and bring it from the East Coast to West Coast type of thing. But I don't see that being a viable option.
So I have a couple questions about that system for the tail and the dedicated flatbed and that kind of thing. Have they ever had any incidents or accidents regarding that? I mean, them wrecking the tail or messing up the hinges or anything like that?
No, thank goodness. Now I remember some time ago I put a thread on my Twitter there explaining how the whole thing works, and I forget how many locks. I think it's 16 locks that go all the way around the all the way around the tail there, and this thing it can take quite a bit of punishment, because it's the Dreamlifter is not, the 747 is not a hard plane to land at all. In fact, it's the easiest plane to land that I mean, personally, because it's just so big and so massive, and the fact that you enter ground effect at 100 feet, because ground effect 1/2 of the wingspan, and the airplane just kind of rides that cushion of air down. The thing with the Dreamlifter is that you have such a large cross section, so that the area of the fuselage is so large that, you know, just a little bit of crosswind can make it really tricky. And so when it's a little windy and gusty, oftentimes the landings are not the best. And so the amount of stress that those locks on the tail and the tail hinge mechanism takes is it's not minor. But I'm sure, just like everything Boeing does, it's you know, way over engineered.
Yeah.
So absolutely. I mean, you go through and you do the walk around on this thing, and you look at the size of the hinges and the panels around the hinge area, and on the other side where the locks are. It's a very dirty looking airplane in that the amount of just rivets and splices of aluminum that goes around that, I guess for strength purposes, it's just unbelievable. So it's way over engineered.
The incident a few years back, before I should note that you were flying for Acme Giant. They landed at the wrong airport outside of Wichita.
Outside of Wichita, yeah.
Colonel Jabara or whatever field. And I know that they had some issues trying to get the thing all set up to take off again and get to McConnell, I think, which is where they were trying to land. Was that thing? It was probably empty when they landed at Colonel Jabara.
I imagine it must have been a logistical nightmare to get the thing, you know, unloaded, because I don't know how long that runway is at Jabara.
It's not that long.
No.
It's like 4,000 or 5,000 feet, maybe. Jeez. If that. I don't know. But I do know that they said that they had to drive a tug from somewhere, probably McConnell, drive a tug all the way over to that airport to push the Dreamlifter back because there wasn't enough room for the thing to turn around.
Exactly.
On the runway. So they had to push it all the way back. But I was just thinking, well, if there was like stuff on there, then what about this specialized rig that they have to open up the tail to get the cargo? What a mess.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask what the crosswind limit was, or the wind limit for moving that opening that tail.
I can't remember off the top of my head. Now these things, let me see if I remember, because the side door, the main cargo door for the main deck door for the Dash 400 freighter and the Dash 8, the wind limit on that one is in the neighborhood of about 50 knots to open and close. And if it gets to above that point, you go to the halfway point and you just kind of leave it there, because these doors are so big that they really do become part of the structural integrity of the fuselage themselves. So you don't want to open and close them with too much wind around. But I don't know what the wind limit is on that swing tail there. I'm sure.
If you got carried away, I mean, it sounds like there's a vehicle underneath it that actually does the positioning of it.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
That doesn't sound like it would stand a lot of force. Turn the vehicle over or something. But it's interesting. It's fascinating to hear all the details, Rick.
Oh yeah, this thing it's such a crazy looking airplane. I tell you, everywhere we used to go with this thing, even in Nagoya, because the Dreamlifter basically lives in Nagoya and down in Japan there, and there's a viewing area there, and they've seen it for so many years, and every time I went through there, it was like the first time they were seeing it, because people just lined up taking pictures and waving, and same thing as in at Painfield, because the Dreamlifter operations is right next to the museum, Future of Flight, I think it is, right? And so there's a view and deck area there, and people always up there, waving and taking pictures, and it's really
rock star, man.
I tell you.
Question. So the picture that's in the article with this, the kind of forklift looking thing behind the tail of the aircraft, is that
that's the one? That's the one.
Okay.
Exactly. And at the very top there,
like a forklift on steroids.
Exactly right. And at the very bottom part of the tail there's two support points, and I guess the truck has this hydraulic jack mechanism that reaches up to that and actually connects there. And then they unlock the tail, and the guy drives the tail open and just stays there, because just the tail by itself would not be able to stay open.
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to remove it and just leave it hanging out there, huh?
Exactly. Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right. Well, there are a couple other ways that they're using freighters to, let's see, unusual ways now to fly cargo. Not necessarily airplanes that are specifically made for carrying freight. And one of the pictures and one of the items here, we're not going to go through all of them, but one that I've seen a whole bunch of articles about are like putting cargo in like just a regular passenger airline cabin. And we were kind of going, well, I don't know if that, is that allowed? Is that legal? And I've seen some articles that say that, as long as they're not really super heavy and they can put the volume of cargo like masks and that kind of thing inside the cabin.
Toilet paper.
Yeah.
I guess as long as you kind of figure like per seat, it's kind of a standard size human weight.
I think so. But the big concern that a lot of people had, and I guess the FAA, EASA, et cetera, had was the fact that, the cargo bays of these airplanes have fire detection and suppression systems, where the cabin doesn't. And so the way that they've been getting around doing this is they're having like flight attendants ride along on these cargo flights, and if something catches on fire, they can put out the fire with a fire extinguisher. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Exactly right. And an interesting thing about that, now that we're talking a little bit about freighters here, is that so just as you said, freighters, the lower cargo decks, they do indeed have fire detection, fire protection. The main cargo deck on a lot of these freighters obviously have fire detection, but they don't have a dedicated chemical fire protection system. So the way you put fires out in these freighters is you basically depressurize the cabin and descend down to 25,000 feet. And they figured that by descending to 25,000 feet, the amount of oxygen, well, not really the amount of oxygen, because oxygen stays constant at 21% no matter where you are. But I guess that the partial pressure is lower, right? And so that would snuff the fire out. So that's, a lot of people don't know that the main deck doesn't actually have a chemical fire suppression system. You just depressurize the airplane and fly 25,000 feet and stay there.
Interesting. When we did positioning flights for short duration, we would carry no cabin crew at all. For fire detection in the main part of the cabin, we would pin all the toilet doors open so that if smoke occurred in the cabin, it would get into the toilet, and the toilet smoke detectors would go off, which used to alarm on the flight deck. For longer flights like this cargo carrying aircraft, we would have cabin crew on board.
Huh. Now, how do they deal with the well, I guess they strap the cargo down, because my question was, what of a CG shift issue with the I imagine the boxes are strapped down or they're secured in some way. They can't just be placed willy-nilly. I don't know.
The pictures that I've seen
looks like from the plastic, like they've used plastics to secure them down. I don't know what's anchoring the plastic, but it is interesting.
Like they shrink wrapped it to the seat, right? Like just a bunch of times around.
Probably just duct tape.
Or just don't turn the airplane upside down, then you'll be all right.
Yeah. Exactly. Keep it at 1G. Should be all right.
Hey, looks like John Jester is helping us out here. The Dreamlifter 40 knots to open and can stay open to 60 knots.
Yeah. Wow. That's impressive. That's more than I expected.
Yeah, me too. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Anyway, so if you want to see some of the other unusual ways that they're carrying cargo out there with various aero machines, please see that in the item in the show notes. And thank you again to Ralph for sending that in. Let's jump over to number 13. And this is from Christian. Okay, so a few episodes back, we talked about this incident where a 757 Icelandic Air Boeing 757-200 was landing at Keflavik. It was very windy, but not a lot of crosswind. Mostly, I think, down the runway, like 50 knots. A lot of wind. Of course, I guess that's not unusual for Iceland. And they touched down normally, and then all of a sudden, the aircraft listed to the right, and for some reason, the right main gear collapsed. And this is Christian writes that you'll probably remember the Icelandic Air Boeing 757 that suffered a gear collapse. He said apparently their nuts were too big.
Excuse me?
That's what she said.
I could so make a Boeing comment about that, but I'm not going to.
Well, you got to have well, okay. According to the article, flightglobal.com,
That's where I was going.
the Icelandic Investigation Authority has determined that the side strut of the landing gear detached from the shock strut. The two are connected by a swivel that had threads that underwent undersizing twice during maintenance work in both 2008 and 2019. This reduction in the diameter of the swivel threads was permitted, but required a special undersized nut to be manufactured. Investigators' initial measurements, however, showed that the nut from the landing gear was too large for the undersized swivel threads. I have that problem all the time. Cockpit voice recordings show that the crew was not aware of any problems before the landing. Flight data recorder information revealed no abnormal loading during touchdown. Flare was normal, and the jet initially touched down on its right, then left main landing gear, but as the nose was derotating, an abnormal sound was heard, and the jet listed to the right-hand engine striking the runway before the nose gear made contact. And as I said, the investigators found that the swivel nut and an associated washer were missing from the immediate scene and were located near the aircraft's touchdown point. A locking bolt for the nut was also found to have sheared. And Christian ends this with a very clever comment. There are obviously no benefits to having oversized nuts. Okay. Thank you, Christian.
You tell that to the average squirrel.
They're
they're
looking for the biggest nuts they can find out there, I think.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you, Christian. We do appreciate that. Let's see. Number 4. This is from Victor, and a question for Nick. So, do you want me to read it, Nick, or do you want to do it?
Yes, please do, Jeff. I've got the answer, but
okay. Hi, Nick, and the rest of the crew. I'm a longtime listener of APG and wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for all the great work that you do. I am glad to let you know that you are all a part of why I am where I am in life right now. I'm a Swedish pilot student. I started my PPL 5 years ago. That's when I started listening to APG. Last year, I got accepted to one of Sweden's government-sponsored pilot programs. So right now, I'm studying towards a MPL. Oh, is that multi-crew pilot license, I think, which is connected to one of the bigger airlines here in Scandinavia. In my program, there is a course which lets us do a 2-week internship at any aviation company we like. I would really like to do mine at Virgin, specifically their operations department. This is partly because I would love to see how they solve operational matters at such a big company, but I also think it would make me a better future pilot if I can understand the operations side too. Well, anyways, Nick, what I'm asking of you is if you know anyone I could contact and ask if it would be possible to come down for a couple of weeks, see how things are done at Virgin. If not, that's okay too. I'm glad I got a chance to thank you all for inspiring me. With regards, Victor Nielsen.
Oh, Victor, it's very kind of you to write, and I'm delighted that you would like to have positioned yourself with Virgin to learn a bit. Funny old thing, Virgin has a big profile, but it's not a big airline. I mean, it only has 40, 45 airplanes. I mean, compared with a company like the one whose hat I'm wearing, Acme, it has hundreds of airplanes. So actually the operations empire is very small, compact. There are a handful of operators in there during the day, and you know, it's not like a big airline as you would imagine. Having been to the Acme operations center and seen, it's the size of a football stadium. I'm not kidding. It's vast, full of people all controlling that enormous empire. Virgin is tiny. You could fit their entire operations room into the men's room. So I don't know if it's an ideal airline for you to pick. And anyway, I did take a look around and ask some questions. And the answer I got was, this is obviously pre-COVID-19 anyway, for the moment, no, there'd be nothing, was that Virgin are sorry, but they don't have any work experience opportunities, which would be the equivalent. Work experience 2 weeks, like a unpaid, look-see. And they say we'd want any work experience with us to be a meaningful one, But due to the large volume of requests, our teams don't have the capacity. So basically, they just don't have spare people to look after someone who wants to come and spend a couple of weeks with them, unlike a much bigger empire where they would probably be able to accommodate that. And even if I did know someone which I don't, I've been out of the airline for over a year now, I think the answer, sadly, would be exactly the same. So my personal feeling is if you're going to work in Sweden, pick a Swedish airline that you want to go and experience. You'll probably get more benefit from that.
All right. Good answer. Well, congratulations, Victor, for the work you've done so far. And I'm so happy that we were here to inspire you and keep you going during that time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good luck.
Absolutely. Congratulations, man. That's good work.
We look forward to hearing more good things from you. And hopefully that this COVID-19 thing around the world is not hampering your progress too much. All right. Very good. So we know a person in the podcasting world and used to live in North Carolina. Now he's out on the West Coast working for the This Week in Technology Twit network. His name is Ant. And he's listened to our show for quite some time. He's a big part of our community. And he sent us some audio feedback. So let's take a listen.
Hey, APG crew. I'm Ant Pruitt. It's good to send a bit of feedback to you all. Captain Nick, Captain Jeff, Captain Dana, Miss Liz, Dr. Steph. Really does. I am so happy to send this message, and it means a lot because I wanted to say thank you to the APG crew. Today, according to my computer, is April 8th, 2020. We're still in the middle of this pandemic stuff, and that's affecting a lot of things. It affects people like me, full-time podcasters. That's what I do. And unfortunately, the podcast world is taking a beating right now from a download standpoint. Everybody's podcasts are pretty much down because people aren't necessarily hopping in their car and going to work and in the middle of that, getting their routine podcast consumption in. Their routine is thrown off a little bit. So we've been spending the last couple of weeks of really pushing the promotion and trying to keep our downloads at a steady pace and growing, because people like us, we depend on sponsors to support the show. And when the sponsors are not seeing good numbers, they have every right to say, nah, that's okay. I don't want to support that show. Fortunately, I'm still podcasting. I still have a job and we're doing just fine. But it does mean a lot when I look through my Twitter notifications and see that people are replying to me and chit-chatting, whether they're friends or family or fans. And it really does mean a lot when they share out my show with everybody else that's in their social media, because it does help boost the signal and gets more people interested in listening. So when I see APG crew retweeting my show, man, it just hit me right in the heart. Thank you. You all don't have to do that. And I know you all are busy and got your own stuff going on with your show, but it really does mean a lot when fellow content creators like yourself share other content creators' work. So thank you for sharing my show, Hands On Photography, and my new show, Hands On Wellness. That's twit.tv/hop or twit.tv/how. Thank you all so much. I'm a big fan of your show, as you already know. And I will continue to listen to this show because I just flat out love it. Even though you don't quite hit that 50% accuracy mark. It's all good though. I still love you. Thanks, y'all.
I just heard the bell, the 50% accuracy
Thanks,
bell.
Ant.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yeah. Just.
He's a great guy though. Had a chance to hang out with him on occasion when he was back here in North Carolina. So we miss having you here, but
he's a big Clemson fan.
Yes, huge Clemson fan.
Yes. In fact, almost every time you see him on any of his podcasts, he's wearing some kind of a bright orange something that lets you know.
You can take the man out of the Carolinas, but you can't take the Carolinas out of him. Maybe.
That's what she said.
That's what she said.
I don't know why. Or well, this is probably better. This one.
Oh, that's true.
That's true.
It is true.
That's a good one.
As I mentioned, we're here. We support each other, and I really, my heart goes out to those out there who are doing podcasting for a living. Now, we are not. We are employed in other ways. Here, we don't rely upon contributions to the show for eating and roof over our heads and that kind of thing. But people like Ant do. And so it's and the advertising, that the company that he works for, the podcasting network. Yeah, I see that my screen in the back has done something wonky, but that's all right. Doesn't matter. They depend primarily on support from advertising, and that's a big podcasting network. And when the advertisers say, nobody's listening, and we really don't have this extra money to give you to support you, they're hurting. And so it's very important for all of us to make sure that we, as much as we can, try to support the people that are doing this for a living. So again, hands
timely on your background change there too, since it's got This Week in Tech.
Oh yeah, look at that! Right there, Twit. Okay, because I watch a lot of their shows, including Ant's Hands on Photography and Hands on Wellness, which is brand new, just came out I think last week. All right, so
I just wish you'd stop that show. Hands on Your Wife. Don't like that one at all, Ant. No,
that's a new one. Hands off my wife.
Yeah, sorry, that would be a much better title.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this. So let me try. Sorry, I'm adjusting my screen.
Please don't adjust your sets.
We are in control.
It says
okay.
Me.
Fly me.
Yes.
Fly me to the moon. Oh, it just did that on its own. That's weird.
That's so
just
clever.
Moved. Okay. We still have time to do more. So I think our director said, let's go for number 6 next. And so here we go. This is from Stuart. He says, a warm welcome back to Rick. Great to have him on the show again. I've just seen a YouTube video by Delta Airlines, which is a sister airlines to Acme, which impressed me greatly. And I hope that other airlines follow this lead once the situation is under control and things get back to normal. I wonder if it would be okay to, or you'd be able to play it, or at least the soundtrack in the show without getting into copyright issue. Yeah, I think we'll be okay. This video got me thinking. I wonder what will change, if anything, after the dust has settled. What, as the professionals, are your thoughts on this? Do you think a few years down the line it will be all forgotten about, a distant memory? Or do you think, such as after 9/11, things will change, where we saw mandatory reinforced cockpit doors and enhanced security? I hope you guys are all okay and staying safe. We are currently self-isolating as my wife has been displaying mild symptoms. Oh, I'm sorry, Stuart. Hope she's getting better. But we're all doing absolutely fine. Great to hear that Nick has also recovered well and is doing absolutely fine. Yeah, we're happy about that as well.
I'm not dead yet.
He's not dead yet. Anyway, so I'm going to play the first 30 seconds of the video that Delta Airlines has put out there to kind of stress to people that they are doing things to keep the airplanes nice and clean and passengers safe. And so here we go.
We've learned a lot from the experts about preventing the spread of coronavirus, or COVID-19. Ensuring the highest levels of clean should not be reserved for times of crisis. It's why we are making a commitment to transform the definition of airline cleanliness and create a higher standard of clean, Delta Clean. Here's how we're leading the charge. First, starting this week, all domestic aircraft will undergo the same fogging process overnight that we've been using to disinfect international.
And that's all I could put in there because that's all I'm allowed to do on StreamYard is 30 seconds. So if you want to see the entire video, which is longer than 30 seconds, please check out our show notes. And Delta did a really nice job on that video and explaining how they are cleaning the airplanes and trying to keep everybody safe. And as far as his question to us, do we think that there are going to be some permanent changes in the way we do things in the future? What do you think, Steph?
I think so.
No, I'm sorry. I saw your mouth moving, but I didn't hear anything right away, so I thought you were muted. But then I heard your voice. So
sorry.
Carry on.
My mobile studio here, I'm sure the connection is not quite as robust as my usual home studio. So if I cut out, just let me know. But I think there will be some long-term changes. I certainly think in terms of the way that this video in particular is about how businesses clean and sanitize and do things, and I think some of that will stick around. I certainly think, at least for the relative short term going forward, people are going to be very hesitant still to shake hands, be very mindful of where they're coughing and sneezing, doing a good job of washing their hands, covering their mouths, all that good stuff. I think that's probably not going to change anytime soon. It's funny, they started to show that some of those measures alone have not only had an impact on COVID-19 stuff, but even with regular seasonal flu, it's helped decrease those numbers. So might not be a bad idea, even if we're not dealing with a pandemic going forward, in terms of cleanliness and not sharing germs with each other, to maybe adopt some of these new hygiene standards. My fear, though, is that as people, we kind of have short-term memories about these things, over a couple of years, a decade. If it doesn't come back again, if it's not part of our daily lives, we do tend to forget those things. And could we end up right back where we were in terms of, cleanliness standards and hygiene standards? I could see that. I think that's possible.
Yeah. What do you think, Rick?
Yeah, I tend to think, along the lines of what Steffi's saying there, it's true. And I've actually when I flew back home the other day, it really did show. Some people are wearing the masks, some are not. Definitely no handshakes, which is kind of weird, and I think this is gonna be here for a while. I don't think at least in the near future that flying is gonna be the way it was before this whole thing happened. I don't know, which is kind of sad, because flying as it was before this started was already kind of bland, but now even more so. Oh, look at Nick.
It's a good look.
He's taking it to extremes. He's covered his entire face, not just his.
Hello.
Sorry, we didn't want to see it.
Oh wait. Rick is going to put a dog over his face.
Dog over my face. Exactly.
Well, instead of a piece of zebra's anatomy, which is what Jeff's wearing.
This one will bite the virus away.
It's part of my rump reader schooling.
Yeah. You're a very good rump reader.
Thank you.
It wouldn't surprise me, Rick, if a bit like our security standards, airlines weren't required to operate a level of sanitary standards that could be changed by their government, or by the World Health Organization, or by ICAO would probably be more appropriate, such that when there's no threat, you can go back to a basic standard. But when a threat starts to appear, then you need to implement various checks on your passengers and adopt a much higher level of sanitary cleaning on the aircraft. So, I think that would probably be an appropriate change.
I think so as well, and I think I think it goes a step beyond that as well, because now you have to deal with liability. If something happens, someone gets sick. When did it start? How did we allow it to get to this point? So it's sadly, I think the liability portion of it's going to be what's going to make the permanent change stay permanent. And
you think it would hopefully be because people want to be healthy, but that's not going to be the main driving.
No, exactly right, Steffi. I think it's the liability aspect of it. Nobody wants to be held liable for someone getting sick and then eventually getting sued over it. So
that's true, but I don't care what drives it, whether it be a room full of lawyers or an international organization, so long as it happens and so long as it does it in a timeful and controlled way, I think it would be great.
Exactly right.
I think most passengers also would just like to see cleaner cabins, particularly on short haul where there's not a lot of time and the turnarounds to get in and do a deep clean. For it to happen every night, I think is essential, but certainly I think people deserve to have their immediate area tray tables and things quickly cleansed on each flight.
Yeah. So there's a silver lining there. I
think so too.
But no.
But I'm afraid as well, the concern that Steph has, that over time, remember after 9/11, we were really into the security thing. And then as time went on, nothing had happened, and we started, getting content with the way it used to be. I'll know there are some things that have carried on since that time. But I think it's just human nature, isn't
Definitely.
it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. And driven by economics.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. Let's look at number 5. I think I meant to do that, and I skipped it. So this is from Pacific Northwest Hemp. Okay, that's an interesting name. My wife was reading some Twitter memes to me out loud. Yes, shelter in place has had an impact. She got to one that was pilot related and inadvertently read the simulator as the stimulator. I thought it was funny at first, but then I couldn't stop laughing when I realized the stimulator is the perfect nickname for Jeff's mustache.
Family show, ladies and gentlemen. Family show.
I think we need a ladies
no,
view on this.
But
But you're a doctor. You're perfectly qualified to go near it.
It would be entirely inappropriate for me to say something like free mustache rides. Okay.
I love it.
I don't really understand what that means at all. So
can I tell you that quick story about one of my friends?
Sure.
He ejected out of a Phantom. He was a navigator, but that's beside the point. He ejected out of a Phantom and ended up in hospital because he had a very sore back. And he was in his room the next day, and a young nurse walked in and asked him if he was the pilot who ejaculated.
Similar words.
Okay.
Different meanings. Vastly different meanings.
Yes.
Family show, ladies and gentlemen. Family show.
Or Dana's coming. He just called in to express his amazement about that.
Wow.
Apparently, for those who care to look up the origins of this word, there is a dated meaning of it that could actually be appropriate for those last comments.
Right, like a short outburst or a yell or something.
We just
like
heard Dana's ejaculation right there.
Yes. Here's Dana ejaculating again.
Wow.
Yeah, very good.
Or here's Nick.
Brilliant.
Kind of a high-pitched Nick.
Yes. No, that's me.
Okay.
Short and sharp.
All right, let's move on, shall we?
Good
I think
idea.
it'd be best. Texas Charlie, number 11. He says, those darn Cirrus pilots think they own the road. I mean, taxiway. Yeah.
What's he saying about those Cirrus pilots?
He says, they think they own the road.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know some Cirrus pilots. Sounds about right.
We do, too. Not especially thrilling audio, just that I think that some Cirrus pilots probably also drive BMWs. Texas Charlie. Well, now we know how Texas Charlie feels about Cirrus pilots and drivers of BMWs.
Us Audi drivers, we're perfect.
Yes, you are. In every way.
Absolutely.
Let's see. It got a little bit of the beginning of this. I think it's from VAS Aviation, YouTube. And this part of it is just the part at the front where we see the offending Cirrus maneuvering actually right under the wing of an A321 at Sanford, Orlando Airport. And here we go.
Who still had ground personnel around and was starting up.
Yeah, they were still pushing back, and the tug is still connected. And then we see on the right wing a Cirrus going.
Oh, look, he's giving them the bird as well. What a rude driver.
Typical, huh?
Typical.
All right. To be fair, though, did you notice that the nose landing gear of the 321 wasn't on the line? So that wasn't the best that wasn't the best pushback job.
Yeah, but you know what? It's a good thing it wasn't, because
but had it been there, the guy
room for
wouldn't have done
series to
that.
get back. Yeah.
That's true.
Well, you
So
know,
the series
just
probably
because
thought,
you can do something doesn't mean that you should do something.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. I did hear through the grapevine that the instructor pilot in that series is no longer instructing for that company at Sanford Airport. I don't know if that's true or not. Yeah.
Yeah, he now works for Evil Knievel's Flight Services. So.
All right. Do we still have time, Liz, for
Liz said time
another one?
for 7. Did she say 7?
Okay, 7. All right.
Hold on, let me double check what she said.
Maybe
7,
11?
and she said you could do number 7 to finish off. Maybe Nick added that audio. I don't know what that means.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, this will take some doing from me. This is from Marcos. Good afternoon, all. I do not remember the APG you talked about, the ILS approach, and if I'm not wrong, Rick did a very good explanation about the ILS, Instrument Landing System. And to contribute with that, there is an event that happened on July 29th, 2000 with an Air New Zealand Boeing 767 flight, November Z60. There are some videos on YouTube explaining the event. And let me see. I think I can find the video here. So just bear with me. I'll share my screen and we'll hear just a little bit of the beginning of the video because I just love hearing these accents. Let's see. Where is it? Okay. Here we go.
A lot of time doing cross-check.
That's not loud enough. There we go.
These are based on our knowledge of how aircraft works, combined with our understanding of human error.
Okay, I'm going to start it from the beginning.
As professional pilots, we spend a lot of time doing cross-checks. These are based on our knowledge of how aircraft works, combined with our understanding of human error. Cross-checking of the aircraft and ourselves is designed to trap errors and prevent them creating a problem for either ourselves or our passengers.
Okay. Anyway, it's a really good video, and we'll have a link to it.
I didn't quite understand that. I thought a cross chick was a girl in the bio who didn't want you to pester her.
I've run into a lot of cross chicks.
Sorry, New Zealanders.
Anyway,
as
we watch, what? I was going to say,
Air New Zealand made fun of themselves a few years ago with the
they did,
Santa
didn't they? One of their safety videos. Yeah, it was very good.
Their safety video with Santa, where Santa couldn't understand the requests coming in from the kids from New Zealand or something like that.
Yeah, it was good.
Interesting accent. I love it though. Anyway, so I think we all watched this reenactment of the Flight 60, and Nick, did you have any comments regarding it?
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys, but they got the crew who are actually involved to climb into a simulator and then reenact how they went around when they realized that there was an error with their ILS approach. And it just sounded so funny, rather lame, as they all simultaneously tried to call the go-around.
I thought it sounded very realistic, so let's hear it, okay? Are you ready? Here we go.
Yep.
Go around, go around, go around, go around, go around, go around.
Very realistic. Yep. Never get on my flight deck.
Go around. Yeah, whatever. Go around. If you insist.
No, but they did the right thing, you know.
They did.
Oh yeah, no doubting that. Yeah.
Well, because you can always go around, and that's what they did, and that was the right thing to do.
Absolutely. Yes. Not criticizing that at all. Which I just felt sorry for them in the sim having to reenact it.
Clearly not actors.
Yes.
No. Clearly not. If you want to watch the entire thing, including that little excerpt that Nick provided for us. Again, ITSN in the show notes, and
I think no, I was going to say I think that Marcos was talking about the episode we did on the 7-4 accident that capture that false glide slope. And yeah, the difference between that one and this one is that the 7.4, that was a false glide slope. This was just an unmonitored ILS. But, you know, there were no flags, proper indications. So at the end of the day, you know, it would have had.
I'm good on them for realizing it didn't match up and it didn't make sense.
Yeah,
Exactly.
something doesn't look right, and
cues.
you know we hear so many accidents where they say this doesn't look right, but they keep doing it anyway. And
You
in
know,
this case, finally they go.
You get that feeling in the pit of your stomach, going,
Yeah.
I don't know. And that's right then and there. Just go around. Exactly right.
Yep.
Yep.
You know, go back and take another look at it and make sure.
Yeah. One of the things I was very upset was when our company took out the obligatory call of the height check over the final marker. Oh, well, over the final fix, sorry. Where we used to do an altitude comparison with the plate. And they said, oh, we still want you to do it, but we want you to do it silently, which of course means that most guys just don't do it.
Right.
Because there's no requirement to mouth it. And I thought, wow, you're just leading yourselves into trouble doing that. But there you go.
I always brief that when I'm briefing ILS approaches. I talk about the that glide slope check altitude. Usually it's the same altitude as the glide slope intercept.
Oh, it's intercept, right?
But not always. So it's always
that
good
is
to make
that is your last chance to make sure, especially in IMC when obviously you can't see anything outside, and it's your last chance to make sure that you are indeed where you think you are.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
Texas Charlie number 10 said, "Bring him back quick." He said. He sent this little graphic that says everything was fine until we retired the MD-80s. It has an American Airlines MD-80 in the picture, and he says, "Coincidence? I don't think so." So, good call from Texas Charlie that we need to bring the MD-80s back at American. We're still flying them over here at Acme, so come on, they're still good airplanes. And is that it? Was there another one that we
number 12?
Number
but we're at
12.
an hour. But number 12 is the only one.
That's okay. We're going to keep going.
Okay.
It's going to be a little bit longer show, but that's because we know all of you are at home, not doing anything, so you have the time to listen to a little bit more. And this is from Sean, and he sent us an article from the let's see, what is it? The Wall Street Journal. WSJ. FAA is making changes to ATC to keep them open in light of the virus. Changes include reduced staffing to match the reduction in flights. And so the article just basically says what they're doing to try to cover everything. And we know, maybe you do as well, some people out there that do this for a living, and their schedules definitely have been modified. The shift work they're doing now is quite a bit different than what they were doing before this whole COVID-19 thing.
Hey, Jeff, quick question. I obviously haven't flown in a couple of months, and certainly pre-COVID-19. You said you were up last week?
Yeah, last Sunday morning.
Are you getting a lot more direct routings, or are you getting more? How's it changed?
Yeah, they are definitely, giving us more direct routings because there's just not as much traffic up there to conflict with. And that's, our company has sent out some memos to us to kind of, not get complacent when, you're up there flying, because things are different. They don't sound the same. They don't feel the same. But and a lot of times, getting a direct to destination isn't always the best thing for us. I mean, we can sometimes save money and save time by going on the actual routing that has been provided for us from our dispatchers based on winds and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's definitely something that you're seeing. I haven't done a heck of a lot of flying since the whole outbreak, especially in the last few weeks. But from what I have experienced, yeah, it's definitely a different world out there.
Reminds me of coming into London very early one morning, and we had a medical emergency, so we were given direct to Cenefix for 27 right, I think, and told to maintain high speed. And it's very interesting when you're doing that, because normally you fly a pretty well-known pattern. You've got sort of mental height cues. You're usually much slower, and you are used to how much energy the aircraft's got. When you're not even required to be 250 below 10, so you're coming all the way down at 300 knots. and straight to the Cenefix and trying to work out at what point it is appropriate to slow down. And then you suddenly realize that this airplane ain't slowing down nearly as fast as you thought it was going to. It was just, this was the days before stabilized approaches, thank the Lord. So we got in. Exactly. But it would just be so embarrassing having been given all this priority and been told, yeah, rattle it as fast as you like, mate. Go straight in there. Yeah, on you go.
Digging your own grave.
Exactly. That's exactly what I very nearly did.
What I find works quite well is 10 knots per mile in a level sector. You know, just fly level 10 knots. You lose 10 knots for every 1 mile.
That was the problem. I was doing a constant descent.
Oh, were you?
Yeah,
a little bit more room.
Yeah, there was no level portion to apply that, and you try slowing down when you're going down. You know what it's like.
Oh, and here's the thing. I've never flown an Airbus, thank God, but I believe that as long as the autopilot's on, you put speed brakes out, they only come out 50%. Is that correct?
I have no idea.
That's all gone.
That's right. I dumped that stuff ages ago. I was hand flying anyway. So
were you? Okay, yeah, so yeah. I believe as Airbus drivers up there, I remember that because I remember it was an issue going into Quito, high and hot altitude airports where if you get behind the airplane a little bit and you're trying to slow down as you're coming down, you put the speed brakes out. A lot of guys, I used to right in the cockpit when I lived down there. Yeah. Going from the coast up to the mountains, and when they got behind or the vector was a little tight and they were left a little high on the approach, in order to slow the airplane down, they'd actually have to disconnect the autopilot to have the speed brakes come out and their full travel. Otherwise, they only
I don't remember that myself personally, no. But no. But there you go. I never looked out and see them because you have to be in the cabin to be able to see the speed brakes.
but I imagine ECAM would tell you. I mean, I guess the flight control synoptic. I don't know. This is just me geeking out.
No, they just show when they're up.
Oh, that's what she said.
Here we go. 100%. Depends which version. Ludger says 50% on the A320, but 100% on the A319. And of course, I was flying the A340 and the A330. So
there you go. Yeah, it was 320s that I was riding around in. So.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, you have to have some way to force these people to manually fly the airplane. Now, I know that. Now, to be fair, Nick is one of those folks that always, or tried to, not always, but tried to fly the airplane manually as much as he could to keep his skills
I did at least once a month. Yeah.
Very nice.
Okay, I was hoping that was going to be more than that.
Yeah. Well, when you're only flying like twice a month.
Well, that's true. I was going to say that's how often I flew.
Okay, good point.
50% of the time. That's good.
Yeah, money for
somebody say 50?
Definitely.
There's that 50% right there. All right. Well, that is it. We've run through our feedback. We do appreciate all of your wonderful feedback out there, folks. If you have any questions for us regarding certain things going on, please send them to feedback@airlinepilotguy.com, and it will make Liz very happy because she kind of freaks out when we start running short of feedback. So again, feedback@airlinepilotguy.com. There are other ways to do it as well. Go to our website where you'll find the contact us page and a link to SpeakPipe. A lot of people use SpeakPipe to make recordings. I think it limits you to, I don't know how many minutes, maybe 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Yeah. So if you have a long feedback, then you might have to call back a few times. Actually, the better thing to do in that case is to use the recording device on your smart device, your smartphone voice memos app on the iOS, and then attach that to your email to feedback@airlinepilotguy.com. Let's see. Other great things that you can find on our website are links to the plane tales, a lot of extra information that Captain Nick puts in to supplement his fine audio tales. Let's see. The APG library, our librarian Tiffany in Buffalo, she does a absolutely stunning job with managing all of the great things for you to read. If you and you should have plenty of time now to find a good book or two in the aviation world to read there. So check that out, APG Library. Merchandise, let's see what else we have over there. Yeah, I hear somebody saying something. Maybe no. What else? I should probably look at the website so I can remember all the different things. You can find out about the APG crew, the community. We have the community calendar. Not a lot on there right now because of the present situation. And watching the videos when we do the live shows. There's a link there, APG on YouTube. So much more. And we're also on the social medias.
We are, and I'm going to say this quickly, and hopefully you can still hear me because one of my headphones just died.
Oh, no.
So you can head over to twitter.com. We're at APG Crew. Follow all of us together there, or individually. Our information is pinned to the top of that page. You can also head over to facebook.com/Airline Pilot Guy for lots of good community interaction and information. So see you there. And occasionally Instagram, also at APG Crew.
All right, very good. And we're also on Slack. And see if I can. There's the hidden microphone in the restroom, and guess what? Hillel, believe it or not, is in the shower again. Hillel, it's time for the Slack. Okay, sounds like you heard me. All right, come on over here and tell us all about Slack.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas. We suggest episode and plain tales topics. We plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com, or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thanks, Hillel. Now you can go back and take care of whatever you were doing in there, and make sure that you wash your hands.
Where's the soap?
Right next to the sink. All right, very good. What else do we want to say before we go? Oh, we want to say thank you to our producer, director, Liz Piper in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Thank you, Liz, for all your great work and direction. Without it, it would be just chaos here. So we do appreciate you.
It already is chaos.
Well, I mean, even more chaos, if you can believe it. Anyway,
Liz is the glue that holds us together.
There she is.
Absolutely.
All right. And until next week, we wish you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care, and God bless.
Cheers, y'all.
See you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Is that in there for Dana?
No, I do actually have Dana saying goodbye from part one, so I'll just take that little snippet and put it at the end.
Gotcha.
Brilliant. Well done.
Hey,
good job.
RH just sent me a message. Don't worry, I'm not going to sit here all day, and I've got a good tan going already, so I think I'm okay for the sunscreen on the top of my head.
Very nice.
It's nice and cool, Steph.
It's warming up. It was cool. It was like 32 degrees this morning. Now it says it's 54.
Very nice.
So, but it's going to be 70.
Hey, some severe weather coming our way. I don't know if it's going to reach into Charlotte area or not, but
we've got some warnings for tomorrow night in particular, because it's supposed to rain all day tomorrow and then very high winds tomorrow night. So we'll see.
Possibly of tornadic activity as well. Mississippi and Alabama mostly, but maybe some south of the Atlanta metro area.
We're supposed to get any tornadoes. I mean, if you all do, certainly stay safe and careful there. We're just supposed to have very high wind gusts. 50, 60, 70 mile an hour winds.
They're a little concerned because, if you see the weather that we're experiencing today and maybe the first part of the day tomorrow, seems like pretty nice weather. And then it's going to catch people off guard that aren't into, looking at weather and paying attention.
Today is absolutely beautiful, which is why I jumped on the schedule to go flying this morning and not paying attention to the time we were actually recording the show. Sorry about that.
That's all right. It worked out.
But I'm glad I went early because, that was the only time I had to go because everyone's trying to get all their flying in today because tomorrow's going to be a washout and doesn't look great for the beginning of the week next week either. So 7 a.m. was the only time I had to go, but that nice 32-degree temperature overnight with the plane sitting out all night, had to wait for some of that frost to burn off. was like a layer of pollen and then frost on the wings. It was like lovely.
Yellow frost.
Yellow
Yeah.
frost. Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah. So not good.
I love hearing the birds
It
in the
did warm up
background.
pretty quickly. Yeah, I mean, I got the open air Jeep situation going on here, so I'm right underneath a tree. Hopefully they don't poop on me.
Uh-oh. Watch out.
Ah!
All right. Well,
you need to wear a hat, Steph.
I only have like my beanie because it was cold this morning, but I don't think it's going to help.
Well, it will if they poop on you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just throw it in
Then I could just
throw it
wash
in the
the hat.
washer.
Right. Except it's too warm for that hat now.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us again in the chat room, and
Yeah,
thanks
good bunch
for
today.
being flexible regarding the timing for part 2, and we can always count on you loyal folks to be there for us and helping us out with answering questions that we might have during the show, and also trying to distract us, which you do a very good job of as well. Thank you.
This mobile setup's nice. I don't have any access to the chat room, so I have no idea what they said.
Yeah, so it's
Very
nice, isn't it? I
distraction
noticed
free.
you were a couple times. I was looking at Steph, and she looked completely bored. Like,
What?
didn't know what to do.
Yeah, usually I'm just completely distracted by the chat room. No,
Right.
I was not
Exactly.
bored at any point in time.
Yeah, okay. Well, good. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and stop the broadcast and look for us to do a show sometime next week. We're not sure when yet, but we'll do our best to figure that out soon, and then we'll put a note on the APG community calendar. And until then, we'll see you. Have a great weekend.
See you next time.
Oh, happy
See you next
Easter, by the way.
week.
Yeah.
Happy Easter.
Bye, everybody.
Stay safe, y'all.